Hi, my name is Juanita Rasmus, and this is my story. August the 27th, 1999 began as any day began in my life. I had gotten up early that morning to prepare breakfast for my family, and had called the girls and Rudy in to eat and said, you know, like I always do, come on and eat breakfast, y'all, it's ready. And put the food on the table and decided I'd walk into the restroom and put on my makeup and just kind of finish doing my getting dressed for the day mode. And after breakfast, Rudy said, hey, you want me to take the girls to school this morning? I've got some extra time. And so I said, hey, great, that's cool, because I was in charge of carpool. And Rudy drove the girls to school for me that morning. They were in middle school at the time. And so I thought, now this is good. I get a few minutes to put my makeup on in front of the mirror, not while I'm trying to drive, like I'm the only one who does that, right? But as I was in the restroom putting on my makeup and stuff, I began to kind of feel weird. And I couldn't really put my finger on what I was feeling. But moments later, I found myself picking up the phone and calling our secretary at the church and saying, you know, I'm not feeling too well. Would you reschedule my morning appointment for me? And I'll be in at noon. I think maybe if I just lay down, I'll feel a little better. Well, I hung up the phone and she'd agreed to do that. And before I even knew it, I picked up the phone and hit the redial button and had gotten her on the line again. And I said to her, cancel everything for today because I'm not coming in. I don't know when I'm ever coming in. I'm gonna take a sabbatical or leave or something. And I hung up the phone. It was so weird to me even hearing myself say that. It was almost as though somebody else said that for me. And after I hung up the phone, I went and laid in the bed. I was feeling this weird kind of nausea, kind of like my equilibrium was off also. I got in the bed and I proceeded to have what my grandmother would have called a nervous breakdown, Love everything that I live for. That's what I'm doing right now. Did you really think I'd up and go? No. I came to realize through the help of not only my family physician and her running a number of tests trying to see just exactly what was going on with me, because I had gotten to the point starting that Friday where I slept somewhere between 18 and 20 hours a day. All of a sudden things that used to be important to me were no longer important. I didn't have any energy. I was exhausted, and yet I slept all the time. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had in my life. After going to see our family physician, and she ruled out some family history like diabetes and thyroid problems, and we did a whole battery of blood-oriented tests to just try to see what was going on. I was recommended to go and see a psychiatrist, and I set up an appointment and I went to see a psychiatrist, and sure enough I was diagnosed as having had a manic depressive episode. Wow. What does that mean, I thought. I had always been an energetic kind of person. Nothing really got me down. I have a solid faith, and so often any challenges that I ever experienced, I just prayed my way through them like I assume most people do who have a spiritual connection, who have a faith in God. And so for me, the challenge began that I couldn't even pray. I couldn't read scripture. My mind was so out of it that I could look at letters that on a book before meant so much to me. Now they seem like Japanese or something. I could not understand them. I lost my concentration. Little things like where I put my keys. I know that's one we often think about just because of the aging process, but I could have had my keys in my hand and couldn't remember that they were in my hand. I remember during that time, I lost interest in everything that had been previously exciting to me. I started having panic attacks every time it was time for me to go pick my girls up from school. Many people who experience depression have a desire to kill themselves, but there's also the flip side, and that is not the desire to kill yourself, but this overwhelming, almost fascination with being killed. And so for me, mine came as being killed. I would get ready to go and pick the girls up from school at about 2:45 every day. I would go into this panic. And I didn't even know to express that to anybody, that that was happening to me. I didn't know why it was happening. I would get in my car and all I could think of was this obsessive thought that somebody would kill me in my car, that I would have a car wreck, and that my children wouldn't know where I was or what was going on with me. And so that thought stayed with me for a very, very long time. One of the things that I came to realize is that I couldn't laugh anymore. All of a sudden, things that used to be funny weren't funny to me anymore. There was like nothing in me resonated with a sense of humor. And I realized that my life was very, very different. And it was for a very long time. At that point in my life, before August 27, 99, probably would have said, wow, she's got it all together. She and her husband pastored a 3,000 member church at that time. It's successful, it's winning awards, it's feeding the homeless, it's providing services that, you know, the Bible talks about providing. Food and clothing and providing child care for children and meeting the needs of people who were affected and infected with HIV. So anybody looking on in my life would have said, wow, she's got a great husband, 2 wonderful kids. What more could anybody want? What could possibly be going wrong in her life? And yet depression made me realize that there were some things that I needed to take a look at. Depression left me without any joy in my life. One of the things that I realized is that I awakened every morning to this sensation of falling in this dark tunnel. And every morning I woke up saying, Lord, would you just let me hit the bottom? And it seemed like I never hit that bottom. Every time I'd lay down to take a nap or to go to sleep, I would wake up with that spiraling sensation as though I was falling into this pit. Over time, those feelings began to diminish, but it took a while. I lost my sexual desire. The phone ringing would throw me into a panic attack. I got to the point where I isolated from my church and even from my family. My bedroom became my refuge because it was the only place where nobody expected anything of me. It was the only place, I guess, where I had an opportunity to just try to, as best I could, take care of myself. My family was very supportive, and I thank God for that. My church family was equally as supportive. I found that often when you deal with a mental health illness, the church sometimes doesn't know what to do. And so I would suggest that one of the key things that any of us can do, and one of the things that my husband did on a pretty frequent basis, was to just kind of tell our congregation what I was going through. He named my illness. He told them that I had experienced a major depressive episode. And while for some people that really blew them away, oh my God, she's so faithful, she's so spiritual. How could she be experiencing depression? The only thing they forgot in that equation is she's so human. Mental illness can happen to anyone, just as cancer or diabetes or high blood pressure can happen to anyone.